Welcome. Pile the numbers. Tyson Banker, Bench Clear Media with you. Pretty excited about today's show. It's the Putting It All Together show. It's the end of season rookie reports. It's one of my passions for Bench Clear and Breaker Culture is just going through the rookie data and summarizing the prices for you guys. And so I have that for you today. I'm also going to talk to you a little bit about Mosaic. And I had to bring on my favorite sidekick, Ty, to break down all these numbers and just kind of see where everything's at. We already know with his playoff picks, he's going to go with KC all the way, but we'll get to that in a second. But Ty, how you been? How are things going for you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me back on your in cap episode. You showed me some of the data before. I can't wait to break this down, man. You put so much work into it.
It's like this is like when I go through this, like this is where my kind of passion wheel like spins. Like, this is the stuff I like the percentage of drops, the percentage of things going on. That's the thing that I think people are most interested in, and I think that these type of shows are what kind of energize me to keep on coming, man. It's fun.
Do you feel like this year has been kind of the most different type of year when you look at like the percentages? I feel like it's just super unique.
Yeah, I think so. I think football has been relatively stable, especially at the top. But I think that there's also kind of weird things you look at because I had to kind of make some changes. Like, for example, Justin Jefferson's PSA 10 Prism came out 220, and then it dropped right away because he had that little high kind of first couple. So you have to kind of weather the stabilizing things too when you look at the numbers. But to your point, yeah, it is a bit different when you're really paying really close attention to it. You kind of see weird little bubbles pop and go out and go up. So, but definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
And then I think the quarterbacks have been weird. They've all had weird seasons through injuries, through different things too, so it's been a very odd year for sure for football. And I really feel like I do feel like the playoffs are wide open. I think it's going to be a very interesting playoffs for sure. So with that,
I can't wait to see your picks.
Yeah. With that, why don't you lead us off? I said my picks in the last show, but I'll say them again. But who do you like just in the first round? And you can just maybe give your AFC and NFC favorite. Let's do it that way.
AFC and NFC favorite. Well, AFC favorite for me is the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's I mean, I'm biased a little bit, but I actually do think the Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. I would have been more concerned if they weren't playing the Steelers. I think they run right through them, but like first round matchup for the Chiefs with like Raiders, the Chargers would have worried me to death.
Right.
I think it's Chiefs first Bengals.
Yeah,
that's who my AFC Championship game is.
That's nice. I like that. What do you think's going to happen? Let's go game by game. So that means you got Bengals over Raiders this week. How about Bills Patriots? Who do you like in that third round matchup between Bills and Pats?
I'm going to go Patriots.
Yeah,
I'm going to go Patriots over the Bills. Yep.
Okay, that was my upset as well. I have Patriots and Bengals, so we're 2 for 2. Who do you like? Let's stay in the AFC for the last one. Or no, that's the 3 for the AFC. Sorry. How about NFC? Eagles, Bucks. Pretty easy chalk there.
Yeah, gosh, if Eagles had like a quarterback that I was scared of, I'd be like maybe a shot, but no, there's no way I'm betting against Tom Brady.
Yep. How about Niners, Cowboys? Tough one. Like for me, I'm going Cowboys. Obviously, that's my team, but Niners do worry me for sure.
I'm going San Francisco.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I think this is the stinky one.
We've got a lot. The Cowboys have forced a lot of turnovers this year, and Jimmy's pretty turnover prone, so I'm hoping that goes in our favor. If Jimmy takes care of the ball, they'll be in good shape, I think. And then the Cardinals-Rams, a kind of interesting Monday night playoff game for the first time. What do you think there?
Yeah. First off, I was kind of taken back when I saw the schedule. I'm like, wait, what's going on with the Monday night game? It's kind of cool how they're doing that. I mean, they had an extra game, of course, but I like it.
Yeah,
it gives us 3 days of playoffs, which is all good. I'm going with the Rams.
Yeah. I went with the Rams as well, but I said that is my NFC upset. If I picked one, I think the Cardinals, if they could put a game together, but they've just been trending the wrong direction for so long. Why is it going to stop now? It's kind of tough to see. So you said you like Bengals and KC. I'm going to stay with you there on the AFC. NFC, who do you like a championship? I kind of like Rams, Bucks.
Yeah, I'm going Rams, and Bucks would play Packers, right?
Right.
Oh yeah, I'm going Packers Rams. Yeah,
Packers Rams. Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, Packers Rams.
Yeah, that's good for sure.
I think it's going to be Packers Chiefs in the playoffs. I mean, in Super Bowl.
Okay, I'm hoping Packers Chiefs. That'd be a great game for those two quarterbacks. So they're pretty big in the hobby for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, I will agree with you though. I feel like I've been more excited this week thinking about the NFL playoffs than I can remember.
Yeah.
in the last decade. Like
Right.
I'm excited about every single one of these games, and they all have a very unique hobby impact. They're all just really good games. Like everyone's wide open. I'm just excited.
Yeah, it is wide open. I was so wide open, I just forgot about the Packers for a second. And I was like, oh wait, duh, yeah, I'm definitely Packers Rams too. I do think Packers. I think this is the year they can go all the way, actually. So I kind of just totally spaced them, but I like Rodgers go all the way. Their defense is much better than they've been in the past, so they're
Yeah.
going to be pretty tough. Awesome. All right, well, let's get into this rookie report, Ty. Or actually, let's jump in real quick. A couple big hobby things kind of broke. I really enjoyed your video, Ty, kind of talking about that crazy Pokemon, non-Pokemon GI Joe card situation. So explain to me again the context. $3.5 million purchase of a sealed case of original Pokemon cards that weren't original
Yeah.
Pokemon cards, and they were authenticated by PSA. Is that correct?
No, they were
Or
authenticated by Baseball Card Exchange.
Exchange. Okay.
Yeah, BCCE, who is really the premier authenticator of sealed wax
Oh, okay.
boxes, cases, and packs. I mean, they've been doing it for 20 plus years. So yeah, I think Logan Paul spent $3.5 million. The guy before him spent $2.7 million. I think it's the numbers. And then he started getting called out, Logan Paul, and so they're like, well, shoot, this seems legit. Logan Paul's like, and he even said it. He's like, I was getting hit up from people saying, hey, you got ripped off. And so he went, and he's got the power to do it, and he's got the voice to do it. He went to Chicago and said, all right, BCCE, you need to tell me how you validated this. And in that hotel room, and you got to watch the video. Did you watch the video?
I haven't. I just heard your take, and I've kind of read a little bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, the video is crazy. They're in a hotel room basically, and the guys from the Baseball Card Exchange are in there kind of like rehashing the way they originally authenticated it. And as they're doing it, they're almost questioning themselves a little bit. And but it was hilarious because they're like, we do this, we have this rigorous process, and we feel super confident in this. And they were going in like first 2 minutes is like, please, you're good. And then they start catching a couple things. And then they're like, you know what? Maybe we should just open up the sealed case and see the boxes. And they open up the box, the sealed case, and they see the boxes. And the first couple they pull out look okay. Then the third one looks funky. And the fourth one is a completely different box.
Oh,
and brutal. Logan Paul in the background is just like, oh my, and he's screaming, he's running around. And at that point, Logan's like, we need to open one of these boxes. I need to know what's going on. And that's when they open it, pull up the packs, and it's GI Joe cards.
Jeez, this has to be a movie. Like, you feel like you do the heist or something. How did that happen?
Right. And you think about the line of transactions of where that's taken, like where that's happened, and like it's been counterfeit's been passed around from person to person. And my point of my video was just like, Baseball Card Exchange's response, I didn't think was that good. And like, there's got to be some like deeper integrity, transparency in the grading market, because this stuff can't happen. This is ridiculous.
I mean, and then speaking of integrity, that was the other kind of big news. I won't mention the breakers' names, but you'll see it on your feed. But apparently a breaker was doing a giveaway box of Absolute, pulled the gold kaboom of Lawrence, and then said, sorry, this is no longer a giveaway. And they basically cut the feed.
What?
And they kind of backtracked, and I think they're trying to make it right somehow, but people were still trying to break with them today, which is crazy to me that people will be back breaking tomorrow. But yeah, the Lawrence card, that's almost a 20K card, 15K, 20K card, a gold kaboom that they just kind of whoopsied it, So they've been getting quite the backlash in the hobby the last couple days, or sorry, the last day on that.
Wow. So that was like, there's video evidence of it. Obviously it's a recorded break. And is that out there for people to see?
Oh yeah, it's been passed around like wildfire today. The video is 4 hours, but it happened like 4.5 hours, but it happens at the 4-hour mark. And I mean, I'm gonna be as nice as I can. It's a clown show. What they're doing, they're in costumes. These guys are talking like, bro, this, bro. It's a tough watch. But if you want to go watch, I mean, you'll find it. It's all over Twitter and Facebook. But about the 4-hour mark is when they hit the card they don't want to give away. So
it's Backyard Breaks, right? That's who it is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay.
So I've never seen him before myself, but I couldn't believe it that was a beautiful card. That's a big time card. So
big time card, but I mean, the prices people will sell their integrity for.
Yeah.
It kills me. Like,
Well, I mean,
your
it's a business
reputation's
killer.
scarred. You're done.
Yeah. It's a
You're done.
business killer, man,
Yeah.
because you're not happy for the customers. You're just like, "Oh, I need this now."
Yeah.
You can tell right away who the people you wanna be with, so, anyway, so a little crazy hobby stuff. I know the Dallas card shows this weekend. A lot of people are going to that, so hopefully they enjoy that. I
Yeah.
know that you're not going, to the weather and different things are going on. Obviously, me traveling
Yeah.
international is not going to happen for a while, but anyway, let's get into this rookie report. That's why we're here. So
Cool.
I'm excited. So we got top 20. So how we're gonna run this out is we're gonna run through the top 20, and I put on here beginning of year before the season started, our week 9. So that was our halfway checkpoint, and then what they're doing now. So Tom Brady's been pretty, I'd say, relatively consistent. Like he was about 17,000 to start the year, 21 grand in week 9, and then now he's at 18.4. Mahomes 9,100 came down to 7,200 as he had a slow first half of the season. He's back up to 7,800 to finish the season. Rodgers, I didn't look at his Chrome to start the year, so that's what the NA are. I switched from midseason. I decided I want to do all Chrome cards, so I got away from just the base tops, and I did tops Chrome. He was 5,400, now down to 4,851, which is odd because he looks like the front runner for MVP. And then Roethlisberger's been tough because he hasn't had any card sales of his top Chromes since the beginning of the year, like 1061. So it's just been 1061 for all season. So he's kind of hard to gauge, but no movement. And then Stafford's been very odd. He's 900 to start, 1164, and then he had 2 weird sales, like a 600 and 900 these last month. So he's sitting around 750 average. So he's kind of been, I'd say, pretty stable. But what do you think about these 5 guys? I think all of them are in the playoffs, which is, interesting. But what do you think about these
Yeah.
5 guys?
I like all 5. Maybe not so much Roethlisberger, but I mean, I think Stafford at 750, depending on what he does in the playoffs, is a pretty darn good deal, if you ask me.
Yep.
I've talked about Stafford before. So beginning of the year, Mahomes was 9,100. He's had a pretty good season, and he's sitting at 7,800, which is interesting to me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't drop $7,800 on his Prism PSA 10, but that seems like a relatively fair price.
Yeah, it does seem fair. It's just, then if, what if Rodgers wins a championship? Does he get into that second spot? Like what happens? Because, I think that's right now what people are kind of waiting to see if Mahomes is going to be a multiple champions quarterback or, just a one. And I think he did have a rough start. Their offense just wasn't as explosive. I think we all had to expect it to normalize a bit. They've been pretty efficient. Like you said, they had a really good second half of the year. I think Stafford, he really worried me the last 3 weeks. He was pretty off the last 3 weeks. But I'm hoping, like you kind of said, that he makes a little run here, gets the Rams up in there. I think they have the talent to do it. It's just a matter of if he can put together. Roethlisberger, he's probably gonna be a one and done, but his is more just career based. I think him actually being done is going to help his card value because he's been pretty tough to watch for a couple of years. So, and I think he knows that. So, I think overall these 5 guys are all pretty solid, either long term or just quarterbacks in the league right now. So definitely.
Yeah. I mean, you're obviously paying the price for Tom Brady because he's Tom Brady, and everything to me is cheap for Tom Brady, like relatively speaking, like stat line to price. But when you did look at Aaron Rodgers, especially, we're looking at Topps Chrome here, but you look at his base Topps PSA 10, and like that's still below 1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. It was hovering like around 920 earlier this week.
Yep.
That to me is this is incredibly cheap for a guy who's back-to-back MVPs more than likely.
Right. More than likely, and I think in a really good position. I think a Super Bowl would be really big for it. I think just his one Super Bowl in this long, I think that's the only hang-up with Rodgers' career is the lack of Super Bowls. But yeah. All right. We kind of take the tier down here as we go to 6 through 10. So it's still mostly quarterbacks. We did have one of my guys, I guess you could say. He's one of my favorite buys. I kind of liked him quite a bit because he's from the Northwest. He's up from your kind of neck of woods now, Ty. He's from Cheney up there in Eastern Washington. Is Cooper Kupp. He's the first non-quarterback to make the top 10 on this list. But let's go from the top there. Russ Wilson's just kind of slowly declined all year, 950, 797 to 650 this week. Dak also has kind of declined all year, 800, 750 down to 575. Josh Allen's the biggest drop, 861. Then he was up to 1,000 in week 9 and then down to 480. So he's just quite the roller coaster of a season. I think some of it's pop. I think some of it is just he hasn't been that good. He's really struggled against the Patriots specifically. His accuracy kind of hasn't been as good as it was the year before. He kind of had that year after Lamar type thing where Lamar's MVP season untouchable to kind of human. I think Josh Allen's a little bit more human this year. And then Cooper Kupp's with the biggest riser we're probably going to see. He went from 150, 180 to 465 for his 2017 Prism Silver. I think a lot of it's because he was actually in the MVP discussion as a receiver. Just him and Jonathan Taylor, the top two non-quarterbacks, they got him a lot of love. And he's just been crazy consistent. I think still it's obviously probably definitely a sell. I think that it's kind of definitely at a peak, but he's had an impressive season. And then Deshaun Watson's been the head scratcher for me all year. Guy's basically been, I won't say suspended, but he's been out of football for the entire season, and his cards have dropped $80, $90 since the start of the season. So that shows how much people believe in his talent. His prices are pretty stable all the way through. What do you think about the 6 through 10 group?
Yeah, so I think Russell Wilson's will start at the top. Russell Wilson's I've watched nearly every single game because my son loves Russell Wilson, and he just hasn't been good.
Yep.
He just hasn't been good, period. I know the Seahawks in general haven't been good, but when you watch him play, he just didn't have the magic this year that he normally has. And 650 is overpriced to me. If you ask me, I'm not dropping 650 on his Prism rookie right now. There's no way.
Yeah.
Prescott, in comparison, Prescott's super cheap compared to Russell Wilson because Prescott had a pretty good year, very up and down, but 575 compared to 650 for Russell.
Yeah.
Give me Dak Prescott. I'm with you on Josh Allen, man. He just he's very one-dimensional. He's kind of just been boxed in. And it's up to him now to get himself out of that. So
right.
You and I both were really excited about Josh Allen coming in the year. I know that's one of the at least I was excited about seeing him this year.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bummer to see him not perform. But Deshaun Watson, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Who's taking that risk?
Yeah. To me, it's just he has tons of talent, and I think a lot of it's kind of the chance. What if he lands on the Saints? Goes to Sean Payton. What if he gets traded away, or I don't know. There's so much upside with his talent that because it's still innocent until proven guilty. So we're not going to get into that discussion. He's still a really talented quarterback. So if that stuff gets sorted out, he's still relatively young. I think if it's just 1 year, I think he can weather that and still get up there in that top 10 or top 5. But I think it's crazy. I think it's just kind of more about his talent.
Yeah, if you're thinking about spending $450, Josh Allen or Dak Prescott to me seem like a much safer with equally as much upside investment than Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. And then Watson also comes out of that, Mahomes product. The 2017 guys get a bump just because that's going to be a product you're not opening or anything. You're definitely going to be something that you're going to have to buy.
That's fair for sure.
Then we got 11 through 15 here. So we got Justin Herbert's 440. He's kind of been 621. It's a little bit of a mirage because that's kind of his first couple pops. So that's kind of where he came out with his first couple of prisms. Then he got to 480 and then now 440. I don't believe he's really dropping. I think his is more of a pop control type thing. There's a lot of his cards too. We kind of know that 19, 20, and a little 18, there's pretty good pop on those cards. So I don't think he's dropping. I think he's actually kind of weathered his pop with his play. You can see Burrow's kind of the same. I'll go right to Burrow. Burrow's 400, 380, 380. So his awesome play has just kept him stable with his pop. Derrick Henry, and he's still at 440 right now. 630 to start the year, hit 700 right before he got hurt. And then I was 440th possible playoff run. It's I know running backs are tough to invest in, but if Henry, Titans are the 1 seed. That's crazy to me. The Titans, with everything they've gone through, they are the 1 seed in the AFC. And if Derrick Henry gets going, they really make it tough on teams. So I could see a bump in him. Lamar Jackson's another guy that's dropped quite a bit, and Kyler's dropped quite a bit. Lamar 700, 550 all the way to 360. Kyler 385, 330 to 220. I'll just kind of eat some crow on Kyler. I thought he was a great buy at the beginning of the season. I thought that he had the talent and just ability to really grow. And it was kind of weird because they were having an awesome season and he wasn't growing. Yeah. And I think we're just kind of seeing take two from 2020. Cardinals came out hot, were really strong, and then faded as he got injured, and they didn't make the playoffs last year. And then this year they've made it, but they're still fizzling. So what are your thoughts on that group there, Ty?
Yeah, you know what I think about Herbert. I'm a massive fan of Herbert. You're right. The pop, the huge pop is just tough. It's going to take some time for that to settle.
Yeah.
I think next year that's going to be a pretty interesting kind of entry price heading into the season. See where that settles at. But Derrick Henry, like I think it was probably week 11 or 12. I went on to Star Stock and I started grabbing some Derrick Henrys. I grabbed some of his optic rated rookies and a couple of his prism rookies because I mean, he's going to be that running back. I think we look back at 5-6 years from now and think he was the running back of the 2017 to 2024 period where we look and we're like, holy crap, he's a Hall of Famer.
Right. Yeah.
So
I mean, and I believe that it's just now we just got to hold our breath and just hope that's not a reoccurring thing, right? Once you get that first injury, as long as you can kind of withstand and that it doesn't reoccur, that he kind of heals fully, which I know you can't even say that from injury standpoint, but we see what's happened to Christian McCaffrey. We thought it was just one injury. Now it's become 2 almost season long injuries. And now we're like, okay, what's Christian McCaffrey? So definitely.
Yeah. Well, and on the Burrow and Herbert comment, it's tough because on the base prices, they've been stable or flat. But on the SP stuff, colored stuff, like prices have gone up considerably for those two guys.
No, and that you're 100% right. And I think that I'm considering next year it's really hard to find a common card, but to almost look at that next level. Because I do think people are just fading base cards. I think that's really happening with all the grading stuff. The grading stuff is making us want to not be so close to that cut line, right? Because people want to make money on the card. So
yeah. Well, that's a whole different discussion, right? Because grading's so expensive. You're going to have a couple years there, but we don't have as many base cards of players.
Yep, definitely. And then here's the rounding out the top 20. Kelsey, he's kind of dropped a little bit. I'm not really sure why. He still was a top tight end. He's still a very dynamic player. Might have just been an off sale, but 295 to start, 325 week 9, 210 last week. Devontae has kind of been all over the place. 350 was kind of weird beginning of the year for him. I'm not sure if that's because he was like the top receiver in fantasy. People were hyping him up. Dropped to 160 week 9, came back up to 190. Jefferson kind of made his first appearance in the top 20, 225 down to 120 week 9, then back up to 180. So again, that 225 is kind of like his early pop card. 265 for Tyreek to 185, then up to 175. And then Jonathan Taylor did crack the top 20 barely, 128, 100, and then up to 175. This is kind of like almost the fantasy football group, right? This is, not many quarterbacks here. There's some really dynamic players that just put up a lot of stats. I mean, I have a huge share of Justin Jefferson. I think that he's probably the guy on this list I have the most of. I'm kind of a big believer in him.
Yeah.
But who like in this list since it's a non-QB group?
Yeah. I mean, I love Kelsey. I mean, you could argue he's been the best tight end of the last decade. I mean, Gronkowski's up there obviously as well, but
yeah,
I mean, he's going to go down as the top 5 tight end of all time.
Yeah, it'll be close.
Mean,
his volume. Sorry, I actually looked at his tie. Sorry, his volume in this tie is a real is one of the best of all time for his stint. But he kind of started late, so he doesn't have the longevity of a Gonzalez or a Gates or those guys, which is kind of weird when I looked at their stats. But I'm with you 100%. Kelsey's a top 5 tight end still based on what he's done for sure.
Yeah, and he's got a few more years for sure. He's putting up another All-Star season. Pro Bowl season. I love Jefferson like you. I mean, I look at that and I see 180 for Jefferson, or I'll pay 400 for Cooper Kupp, and I'm like, I'll take 2 Jeffersons right now.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. And I get it. Cooper Kupp didn't have as many cards graded because he kind of just came out of nowhere the last 18 months.
Yep.
But Jefferson's the guy I'd be going with here.
For sure. If the Rams lose in round 1 or 2, I'm sure Kupp will come back down to earth a bit too.
Yeah.
Definitely. What do you think about Taylor long term? I was been pretty high on Taylor as a player coming this year. I think he's a very dynamic player. I was really disappointed. I thought I said on my show on Monday, I thought that Sunday was almost hobby doomsday. We lost Herbert and we lost the Colts in the playoffs, and we got the Raiders and Steelers. And that's a really bad trade-off for the hobby. But what do you think about Taylor? Maybe we can't say long-term running back. Let's just say 2-3 years.
Yeah, I think for me, when I look at running backs, like I have to see the 3rd year. Like I'll buy them after I see the 3rd year of like consistency, and then I'm really interested.
Okay.
Like he's had major injuries before. He's had 1 good year and 1 great year. Next year to me is this, like next year, do you buy at 250, hoping he hits 500? That to me is the more interesting buy.
Yep.
It's not worth it to me right now. I'd rather go buy Derrick Henry.
Either way, he's probably going to build a little bit of price just from people watching fantasy, because I'm pretty sure he's going to be the top running back in fantasy. Like
That's a good point.
He'll be RB1. Him, I mean, if Henry has a good playoff show, I think makes people feel comfortable, possibly. But definitely, I think he will be RB1 for sure.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Let's look at kind of our downside, our biggest fallers, and these are I just put them by percentages. I think the percentages kind of tell you the story. I could even tell you the values here, actually, if you just want to. Feel free to ask. But Carson Wentz is down 73% from beginning of the season. Tua down 70%. Baker down 63%. Hurts down 63%. And McCaffrey down 57%. All five of those guys, I think it's kind of clear why. Wentz have an up and down season, then missed the playoffs. Tua got injured. Dolphins definitely underachieved. Baker just kind of solidified he's a mediocre quarterback this year. I thought he was too cheap to start the year, but I was wrong. He is what he is. And I think Hurts passing efficiency is why he's dropped, and McCaffrey injuries. What do you think about that first chunk of five guys down?
Yeah. I mean, McCaffrey's the bummer of all of it, but we've all known he's injury prone. The guy can't stay healthy. I don't know why we keep getting excited about him every year.
Mm-hmm.
Those are four quarterbacks that are just mediocrity. It's like no one's buying mediocrity in this hobby. Right. They're not buying that.
Yeah, I mean, Wentz had some moments, but he definitely fizzled down the stretch when it really mattered. I think a lot of the excitement for Wentz preseason was getting reunited with his offensive coordinator that he was successful with the Eagles with. Tua was just hoping the second year breakout. That didn't happen. I think Baker and Hurts might have been both. I think Hurts also, people breakout didn't happen. Baker was more of just kind of still a high point in the hobby, and I think it just came down to earth that he's not going to be a top 5 quarterback or anything. But yeah, that 5 group, it's a lot of money there that went down. That's for sure.
Yeah, big time. I mean, what do you think? What do you think happens with Hurts in the playoffs? He's playing, right?
Yep. He's back. Yeah. Right. Yeah. They just rested him, I believe, against Dallas.
Yeah.
I think he's good to go. I saw a stat the other day that basically he's had almost the same exact start to his career as Lamar Jackson, and somebody was putting that up as a positive, which, as I've told you, I'm not a huge fan of Lamar as a passer either. I don't think it's a long-term positive for him in the quarterback position. His running numbers are great. He's a great fantasy quarterback. But we'll kind of see, because the Eagles have 3 first-round picks. I wouldn't be surprised if they took a shot with one of those with the quarterback to challenge him. And once they do, I think people are going to get nervous with their Hurts cards even more.
Yeah. Very true. Very, very true.
But and then these other 5 guys, I think Josh Allen's the most surprising, down 45%. We've kind of already gone over him. Lamar's also down 49%. He was injured. DK is probably, I'd say, probably the most surprising to me, that he just fell off the cliff this year. I mean, obviously, Seahawks weren't good. Wilson, like you said, didn't play great, but he just wasn't awesome either. He didn't play very well. Zeke kind of got a timeshare, and then Saquon still kind of banged up, and the Giants are pretty pathetic. So pretty tough for Saquon to get momentum. So
yeah, Saquon's just a reminder, and Saquon was my pick going in. I remember the first episode we had together at the beginning of the season. I was all in on Saquon.
Yeah,
it was a harsh reminder of why you don't buy certain players in certain organizations.
Yeah.
It's nearly impossible for them. They have so many other hurdles they have to get over for them to be successful. And it obviously plays into the car prices too. DK is interesting, because you and I were texting about that throughout many games with the Seahawks. And it's like, he's the guy, like he's one of those few guys in the league where you just got to get him the ball. Like you just got to get him the ball.
Right.
And they didn't do it. They didn't even force him the ball in a lot of these games. And it bugged me to no end.
And he was still double-digit touchdowns this year, which is still a great year. He's had zero volume. Yeah. It's crazy. He had 3 touchdowns, I think, one of the last weeks of the season. So kind of inflated that touchdown overall. But when you go look at his fantasy stuff, and people are looking for fantasy stuff, and they see, he still had 12 touchdowns. I think he had 10 or 12 touchdowns still. It's like, that's a good year, but he didn't have a good year. So it's interesting with him for sure.
Well, this list here is good because it shows you, it's a reminder of kind of how we've reset in the hobby. We're like hype can only carry you so far. Like, it was carrying you a lot, a year ago. Now it's like, you got to perform to earn your prices in the hobby. And that's the way it should be.
Definitely. I think the hype train value is gone. I 100% agree. You have to see it.
Yeah.
Kind of guys, the three biggest gainers. I mean, it wasn't a lot of big gainers, as we know, kind of the market's battling that anyways. But Jonathan Taylor was up 36%, Justin Jefferson up 50% from week 9, and then Cup up 300%. So we kind of talked about those three guys already. So
Yeah.
we can kind of pop through that. And then kind of three buys. So I guess I'm going to challenge you a bit. I still think Russell Wilson is a buy based on he has a Super Bowl. I'm intrigued by where he could land. If what happens in Seattle, if there's any changes, I just think that could kind of revitalize him a bit. So I don't mind taking a shot on Wilson. I think CeeDee Lamb's really cheap. Seeing where some of those other receivers and running backs are, if he's 105, and then I'm actually okay with the gamble on Watson just to see what happens. I think he could be a $600-700 quarterback if he's in the right situation. So those are kind of my three buys. I think you said you like Dak. Do you have any other off the top of your head after seeing the list?
I mean, A-Rod's the number one buy for me. I've said it multiple times in the last few weeks. I think Aaron Rodgers is dirt cheap for his base top rookie. PSA 10. It's a pretty low pop still, especially compared to modern day cards. And I mean, sub 1,000. That should be a $2,000 card if you ask me.
Yeah,
it should be. I mean, he's a bona fide Hall of Famer, especially if something happens in the playoffs this year. Like, forget about it. That card's not going to ever drop below $1,500 again.
Well, let's talk about that real quick, because one thing I want to ask is, do you think that, because I know there's still a lot of rumblings that he still might leave Green Bay. If he does leave, is that going to hurt him in the hobby? Because he's been a long-term Packer. That's one of his, I think one of his big strengths is he's been at the same franchise, helped them relevant for a really long time. Do you think it'll matter if he does a Brett Favre and shows up on the Broncos or Vikings next year?
Well, I mean, I just look at Tom Brady. I mean, it didn't affect him. I mean, it all comes down to performance. You go out and win a Super Bowl for that team. It only solidifies how great you are at that point. So yeah, it can go one of two ways, but Aaron Rodgers is that type of quarterback where if you put him in any other organization, he's probably going to be equally as great. He's at least going to be a candidate for MVP, if anything. Yeah.
I think
to me, Rodgers, that doesn't worry me. Like, it worries me with maybe a Russell Wilson, where like the Pete Carroll combination has always kind of worked. Like, does Russell Wilson become just another version of Kirk Cousins and kind of forgettable?
Yeah. I think one storyline though in the Tom Brady situation was a lot of people weren't sure who to give the most credit to, Brady or Belichick, right?
Yeah.
The best coach of all time and the best quarterback of all time. So Brady doing it on his own without Belichick was way more important than I think Rodgers. I think Rodgers' talent, like you said, is going to translate anywhere. Not that Brady's couldn't, but people did wonder if Brady was a system quarterback. Is he just part of a good system? Because we see Mac Jones was pretty successful in his first year. Like, so yeah, I mean, something to consider.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I hadn't really watched Pat McAfee before until this year. I just watched his Aaron Rodgers interviews because it was just really, it was cool to like every single week get inside the mind of a quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers is a great mind. The way he analyzes the game is just so incredible.
Yeah.
To me, it told me a lot about just the type of guy he is. And then you hear like other offshoot stories about the respect a guy like that has and the way he leads his clubhouse. Number one, I don't think the Packers are going to actually get rid of him. But number two, if he does go, he's going to go ignite another organization for a couple of years, and that could be really cool.
Yeah, I think so. I just wonder if he's ready for a change. Almost, I don't think the Packers get rid of him, but he might force their hand if he wants to try something else, especially if they have some issue in the playoffs that really makes him mad. I think I could kind of seal the deal.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I would actually be more concerned about him retiring.
Yeah.
Like he's made comments about just wanting to settle down and spend more time with his kids and kind of getting that, or, playing out time with kids. I don't know if he has kids or not. He might not.
Yeah,
thinking about it. I don't know. Yeah. They're in that world.
But yeah,
but either way, right? Like maybe he just retires. Like, what does that do to his card values? Probably depends on what happens in the playoffs this year, but
yeah, I do think for him to take the next step in hobby value, another championship's important for him. Like he's going to need that 2 or 3 championship number. Big Ben's won 2. Different guys have won more. When you win more than one, it's not really it's a fluke. Trent Dilfer's won a championship, so we need to, so we got to kind of get past that. But yeah, anyways, that's kind of the rookie report again. Just kind of going over that. Appreciate you guys tuning into that. Now we're going to kind of transition to Mosaic a little bit. I've been really excited about 2021 Mosaic. Got pushed back. Couldn't wait to see it. The cards are great. So we're going to break this down a little bit. I think the cards look amazing. but I am frightened. I'm a little bit concerned about Mosaic. I think we are getting to that price limit of what's the point of breaking it? What's the point of jumping into it? And let me kind of just give you a little bit of rundown, Ty, then we can kind of hash it out.
Okay.
So Mosaic 2021 has a 400 card base set with 34 parallels. Last year was a 300 base card set with 31 parallels. So already you're having 100 extra cards of stuff you don't want. So
Wow.
that makes things really difficult. And I just did a couple. This is very quick research in terms of watching some breaks. I watched a couple of breaks, a couple pick your team prices for 6 boxes, a half case. Patriots were $5.95 for a half case of Mosaic. Jags were $3.65, Bears $2.95, and 49ers $2.95. So it doesn't sound terrible for the 6 boxes, but in 6 boxes, you're expecting about 1 or 2, maybe 3 if you're lucky, base rookie cards. That's your floor. So if you're looking at 2 to 3 base rookie cards, let's just use Mac Jones because he's the one that everybody's kind of going for. He's the top seller right now. I think Patriots are baked in too because we're still making Tom Brady Patriot cards. So people still feel like they have a fallback plan. But Mac Jones's base rookie cards are only going for about $40 right now, and that's release price. So if he's at $40 at release price, and you get 2, let's say you got lucky, you got 3 and 6 boxes, which I haven't seen. That's $120. You're still $500 off. Obviously, your hope for hits, but that's just you don't have a great floor. It really worries me. We really felt like a lot of times when you're breaking, you kind of like, hey, what's my floor? If I get 2 or 3 bases, okay, I still lost $80. Well, in this case, you lost $480, and so that kind of worries me. I really don't like Lawrence's photos. Trevor Lawrence's photos are horrendous. He's got one photo that's like a almost like he's too close to the picture, and it just looks really odd. And in his rookie debut picture, it looks like he's like kicking his foot out, like getting ready. It's really weird photos for him. So check those out. But I don't like that. And then
At least they use new photos. Come on.
Yeah, they use that new. And then they had 200 non-rookie autos are in their rookie list, which is a lot. And then they're breaking at about $650 a box. Last year is about $842. So just kind of putting that all together, I'm just concerned. I don't think I'm going to break it. I think retail is probably going to be my avenue. I'm probably going to stay away from hobby, even though that's where the lowest numbered parallels are. I don't like playing those type of lottery tickets personally. But what are your thoughts on just kind of throwing all those numbers at you, Ty?
Yeah, I think, well, first off, hobby breakers, consumers of hobby breaks aren't thinking about base cards. They're not thinking, okay, I'm going to get 3 base cards. That's my base. It's parallels or bust with any of those. It always has been, right? Unless you're breaking flagship stuff. And especially with Mosaic, where it's so color driven. But to your point, I mean, there's just so much fluff in the product. It is, I mean, this year's basketball Mosaic was gorgeous. And it was probably my favorite looking product of the year.
Yep.
So I know football is going to look the same, and it's going to be incredible. It's going to be hard to not open one of those and think, okay, I got to get more of this stuff because it's really good.
Right.
But I mean, even with like Mosaic, it's like you get a guy and you sell it for $50 and okay, you spent $600 on the box. Like you're guaranteed to lose 70% of your money on these boxes. And I've opened a lot of the Mosaic basketball. It's just it's a bloodbath.
Oh,
even on the retail side.
Right. And that to me, it's the concerning part is, of course, do apparels, but I'm like, okay, I saw somebody pull probably the best hit I've seen. I probably watched 10 breaks so far. So that's probably about 5 cases worth. The best hit I've seen a white Mosaic Justin Fields. That's really nice. That's a big card. It's super clean. Probably $400 or $500 right now, maybe
Right.
6. You know what I mean? I'll just go buy the dang thing. That's the best hit I've seen. And so it doesn't make sense to even play the break game right now with it, which is just frustrating. I actually look forward to it. I wanted to. I think they're great cards. It's fun to watch. But I'm just a little disappointed, I think, in terms of these more base cards, more misses, more fluff. It is going to be a bloodbath, I think, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, and it's tough because that's the way it's normally always been with these products. It's maybe not so much the product out there and the print runs being so high, but you're going to lose. But you go after the products you look really good and you're attracted to, and Mosaic is definitely one of those products.
Yeah.
It kind of stinks too that it's coming out at such a bad time where like it's coming out because there's a little bit of hype with the playoffs, but like, I mean, it's going to be forgettable in a month,
Yeah.
and you're going to grade them. You're going to pay the $100 a card for certain cards, but they're not going to come back for 3 months now with the standard grading, and it's unfortunate because you don't get to maximize the value of Mosaic.
Yeah, definitely. I guess just in closing, last question I want to ask you, Ty, was so with that, I mean, Mosaic's been pushed back, so it was already been released way later than it did last year, and it got pushed back farther. And then we
Yeah.
have Prism's around the corner in March, which is also a weird time for Prism.
Yeah.
When I see these Mosaic prices, Prism scares me to death. like what is Prism going to be out of the gate when it comes to NFL, and how is that going to be a hobby product or just high end only? Like, I don't. Like, what are we going to do with that?
Yeah, it'll be interesting because this will be the first time that in the football world Prisms come out in the off season.
Yeah.
I think that'll actually help prices come back to earth a little bit. Hopefully, at least that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
I think this will tell us a lot about the football card market with this release. How does this perform in March, late March? We're assuming late March at this point. Panini keeps kicking things back weeks at a time. If it performs pretty well, it's probably a lot to be said about how strong the football card market is.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hopefully, if they keep pushing back, they can actually put rookie autos of guys that are still on teams in the product. That'd be good. A good start.
I wouldn't count on that at all.
Perfect. All right. Well, hey, Ty, I really appreciate it. Come on, break down that rookie data with me, man. That's always a pleasure, and I appreciate you.
Good work. Good work.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Bye.